I look at the same type of thing with vintage as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you see these booster boxes continuing to increase. You know, in the beginning, it was a
Yeah.
lot of the first edition booster boxes that we're seeing the big price hike, but now you're starting to see it with unlimited as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the one that was sitting there for the longest time that really wasn't moving, which I was really surprised about, was first edition Team Rocket. That was sitting
Yeah.
super low for the
Yeah.
longest time. And I was seeing first edition Jungle and first edition Fossil just superseding that time and time again. And you know, to me at least, I thought the Team Rocket overall was a much better set than either of those.
Agree. Me and Yizzy actually talked about the Team Rocket first edition booster box, and we saw one for sale. I think at that point in time, he can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I believe it was around $7,000 at one point. Yeah, between that $6,000 or $7,000 mark, and he called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to go in on this box?" And I go, "Dude, I don't have that kind of capital right now to just drop, you know, on even halvesies, you know, on a box right now." And now we're looking the boxes going for 15, 16. It's just slowly creeping up there. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I actually brought this up last week in the other podcast where Jungle and Fossil really don't have that hit. I mean, you have the evolutions a little bit, but there's not really a chase card in one of those sets, whereas Team Rocket more or less has that badass looking first edition Charizard. You got a first edition Blastoise. You got the first secret ever created in Pokemon history with the Dark Raichu.
Yeah.
You have a Dark Dragonite with that cool aqua hollow background color. I mean, there's so much going for that set that I believe I made a video with it. I thought it was completely underrated and should you invest. And at that point in time, I think it was going around that $9,000 mark. And a week or two after the release of my video, we were talking in the tens of thousands of dollars for that first edition booster box. And I believe that it's completely underrated. It's an amazing set, and it's going to pick up a lot more pace here in the next few months, I believe.
Well, and it's again, Rob, you know, we just see this time and time again with this trickle down effect where people are they're moving down that spectrum, you know, of popularity, of rarity, you know, whatever you're looking at, they're moving down. And I can foresee that, you know, at some point, you know, we're going to see prices of PSA 6, PSA 5, you know, those type of cards, you know, the Charizards, the Venusaurs, the Blastoises. I can see those being in high demand. And especially, you know, if you're strictly a collector, you know, if you're looking at a card and it's, you know, you go from a PSA 10 down to, we'll even call it like a PSA 6, and that price difference is enormous.
Yeah, huge.
It's absolutely enormous. But, you know, from a collector's perspective, maybe you just want to display that card and maybe it's got a great front on it. Maybe the back is a little bit beat up, but, you know, maybe the front of the card is a PSA 9, but the back is the PSA 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think more people are going to gravitate to that of just continuing to move down, you know, that threshold. And, you know, I talked about it the other night. One of the series that I think is falling right in that sweet spot, and maybe I'm giving away my secrets here, but one of the series that I feel falls right in kind of that Goldilocks zone is Black and White. If you look at a lot of the products for Black and White, a lot of these booster boxes are under, you know, $2,000 at this point. And there's a lot of beautiful, I mean, that was when we first saw full art cards was in Black and White. And I always like when there's a particular set or a series that starts the trend for a particular type of Pokemon card. I think that always lends to its long-term you know, ability to be investable. Because you look at it, you know, WOTC getting way out of range for most people. You look at the EX cards. I mean, oh my God, I was just looking the other day at a EX Delta Species booster box, and you know, it's over the Jungle, the Fossil, the Team Rocket at this point. You know, there's all those Gold Star cards in there. People are really hunting for those.
Yeah.
And then you start getting into Diamond and Pearl, and same thing. A lot of those booster boxes really climbing in price. And Black and White, it kind of still falls in that, you know, it's about 10 years too. You know, I talk about it a lot about, you know, short-term and long-term investing. And in the financial world, we describe a long-term investment as 5+ years.
Mm-hmm.
But, really when we're talking about collectibles and more specifically Pokemon cards, long-term investment to me is 10+ years.
Yeah.
And we're starting to get to that time horizon now with black and white, and you're starting to see these products pick up. But they're also, I think, in that price range where most people can still afford it. And there's a lot of beautiful cards in that series.
Yeah, I think you made the point right there. It's still something that people can afford within a regular collectible population, Poke population, if you will, that can afford that product right now. Because, like we said, the WOTC era stuff, the EX era stuff, the Diamond and Pearl, it's really becoming out of reach, right? The E series sets are becoming out of reach. It's just what's the next thing? So they're gonna find that set that has some relatable cards, some high end cards, something that's unique to each set, and that's when you'll see the black and white era start coming up. And that was mentioned last week as well too. I mean, it's just the bigger influencer out there are looking the same thing, and they're actually buying into this product. They're not giving away their secrets yet, but they're buying into this product as well. And I'm hearing more and more like, oh yeah, I picked this up or I picked that up, because they're looking at it the same way that we're looking at it right now. About what's because I mean, who wants to pay $10,000 for a booster box later down the road when you're still able to get it maybe for that $1,500, $2,000 range?
Right.
I mean, not a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, I agree. There's a lot of sets out there too that eventually are going to start being, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Found out. They're going to be, they're not going to be slept on anymore, and they're going to be bought up in the market.
Right.
Sure.
They're undervalued at this point.
Yeah. Very undervalued.
And
I have my eye on a couple sets as well, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how deep into my pockets I can get to right now.
Well, and what a lot of people have to realize is that, and one of the things that I try to promote is finding opportunities where you can, wherever you're at, in whatever financial situation that you're in. There's a lot of opportunities that exist within this hobby. It's just you have to dig a little bit deeper. You have to look a little bit harder. You have to do your homework. But there's opportunities all over. I mean, I learn every single day about new products in the TCG. I mean, it's almost overwhelming how much is actually out there. And you start to look back at there's a lot of products that even precede the English TCG. When you go back to like the vending series, those type of cards, that Ivy Pikachu, those were essentially the very first Pokemon cards ever released. And you can still pick up these cards out on the open market for cheap, in my opinion. And so it's just really trying to find opportunities where you can, and not necessarily following that kind of herd mentality of, because we all know what are popular products. It's in our face constantly. But that doesn't mean that you have to try to invest in WOTC. That doesn't mean you have to invest in EX. There's a lot of people that can make a stake in just undervalued products that people aren't looking at. And there's tons of them out there.
Exactly. And I mean, not even Pokemon cards in general. I mean, that's when you have a financial back. When you're looking at the stocks as well. I mean, when you're coming into the stocks for the first time, you're not going to be looking for something like Apple. We know that Apple is going to be tried and true. It's a well-established company. They're going to be, they're going to go up and down, but necessarily you got a safe bet, right? Essentially, if you're trying to make a little bit something, you only have a little bit of influx of cash. You try to find that company where it's still growing. It's still on that maybe yes, maybe no, but that's what you're trying to hit on eventually, right? And hope that it builds over a period of time, and actually your growth becomes, you make a great investment. And it's the same thing with Pokemon cards. Essentially, you find those cards that are essentially sleeper cards or sleeper sets that people aren't really looking for. They know the base set, they know the WOTC era stuff, they know the E series, but they don't necessarily know some of the slept on sets, right? The underrated sets. And eventually people will start catching on, and we'll be finding those sets. And next thing you know, that initial profit that you made when it was cheaper will down the road benefit you in the long run. And yeah, I mean, it's a waiting game, and you got to have a little bit of capital to invest in a potential product and be able to hold on it for a long period of time. It's not a flipper's market when you're looking into that kind of stuff, which we're seeing a lot now with the modern era. But when it comes to vintage, I mean, it's just one of those things where you just kind of buy out and you have to have the capital to sit on it for a while if you want to see some kind of significant revenue in the future. At least that's the way I look at it.
Oh, definitely. You know, that's the way that Warren Buffett made his billions was through a concept known as value investing. And essentially that's what he did. He was looking out on the open market for stocks that were undervalued or overlooked by the overall market, you know, and these were maybe, you know, they were undervalued maybe to their, you know, different factors that people utilize to, you know, determine a value of a stock. And he was going in and sweeping up a lot of these. And, you know, that's how he built his empire, was through value investing. And so for me, I've tried to take a lot of that philosophy and utilize it within the Pokemon card market as well.
Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider Geodude smashing that subscribe button. Hit a like on the video. And if you want to watch the rest of the Pokecast with PokeNav and I, you can find it right over here. So just click on that. Until next time, Rob Mob, I'm out.